let's get started. These are videos meant for the sake of playing open-handed by one player, running both decks, playing very unbiasedly, and explaining why I do each move for the sake of getting insight into how to play each deck and how they interact with each other and etc. So this is going to be Dark Paladins and Kagero, Lawkeeper Kagero, versus Limit Breaker Origin Mage Shadow Paladins. So let's get started with the opening hands. We'll do Paladins first. Alright, well, we got a grade 3. It's half the fight. We also have a grade 2, which this deck only runs like 10 grade 2s. So really all we need now is grade 1. Although getting the grade 1 is really important. There's only 10 grade 2s, so they're hard to get, and there's only 8 grade 3s, so we'll hold on to these. We'll get in these 3. We're looking him over the witch because we never want to ride the witch, and yeah. Hopefully we can draw into our ideal turn 1 ride. Dropping cards. There we go, right off the top. Oh wow, that's a really good redraw. So Shadow Paladin should be set for a pretty good hand. Now Kagero. Pretty good. There's a grade 1, grade 3, and the grade 1, if Kagero goes first, which it will be, can use its effect to try and draw into the grade 2. There we go, 2 grade 2s, so both players will not misride, so we'll have a pretty legit game here. Alright, so as I said, we'll have Kagero go first. Since we're going first, we'll ride Dragon Monk. We don't particularly need to fix our hand at all right now, so and we've only got 1 trigger in our opening hand, so it means we have 15 triggers in the deck. So it means the majority of the deck right now is triggers. So if we were to discard draw, our highest chance would be of drawing a trigger. Most likely a crit, and then most likely a draw. So with and that, since the second most highest would be a draw, we'd probably want to damage check it when they attack next turn to get that free card. So we'll end. Shadow Paladins, ride Javelin, and add the Blaster Dark to hand. Alright. And we don't particularly need to play any other cards. If we want to go really aggro, we could throw on these Arian Rods and start attacking, but it's not a very good idea to just start attacking Kagero early game. You don't want to like just give them free chances to Berserk Dragon you and get +1s. So it's better against Kagero to take it easy on them early game, so that they can't actually just start picking off your cards. So we'll swing for 8. No guard, we want camera to go off. Drive check. Damage check. Draw trigger. See, exactly what I talked about last turn. Draw a card. Back to Kagero. Draw. Ride 10k. So we have a defensive Vanguard. And see how there's this Berserk Dragon here? Had we randomly gone aggro, Berserk Dragon could have just come out, killed an Arian Rod, maybe even attack the other one, and then attack the Vanguard. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to use Conroe skill, and we're doing this immediately to reduce the number of non-trigger cards in the deck. We're going for this card right here, since he's Vanguard specific, and there's only one of them. I want to get that out of the way. And then drop him down. And then, for the same reason that this deck didn't want to just throw down cards right away, Shadow Paladins, Kagero doesn't want to do the same. Because if we deal 2 damage and leave a rear guard out there for Blaster Dark to kill, then they just randomly get the +1. So even though we just searched this card out, we're not going to actually put it in play yet. There's no point. It's an unneeded boost. They're not going to guard. They want the damage. And if we hit the crit, they can play that Blaster Dark and kill this. It's not particularly a good move, but you never know what your opponent's going to do, so you don't want to give them options. So we'll just swing for 10. Drive check. No trigger. Damage. Shadow Paladins are back up. That Blaster Dark. Again, we're in the situation of if we are too aggressive this turn, we open them up to moves for next turn. However, we do have cards like him to recover from those cards, and we've got to face the threat of them being able to counterblast eventually. So we might as well start getting our aggression out now, and then have this card to recover with next turn. Plus, we don't want to waste our stand triggers, which we're forced to play. So we'll drop Rugos. And the question of playing grade 1s is not only against Kagero, isn't just the Berserk Dragons, it's also the Kimnalas. And normally Kagero wants to target boosters and yeah, or interceptors, but probably early game they want to target boosters to restrict the number of attacks you have, whereas late game they want to kill interceptors to make it more likely they can finish you off. So we don't even really need to drop any boosters yet, so we'll just stay safe. Swing for 10 with Rugos. If we had a draw trigger, that'd be a really easy decision to guard with, but we don't. And if we take this 2 attacks, we can next turn Berserk Dragon. So we're going to take it. Damage check. Blaster Dark attacks. Other reason for taking this is to see if we hit a trigger. We didn't, but it would have made it easier to guard. But we also don't want to just get critted and be at 4 damage before we even at turn 3. And if we 10 guard right now, it's no pass, so no threat. Worst case scenario, it's a draw or a heal, or a draw or a stand, since you can't heal right now, and a crit wouldn't make a difference. Draw check. Back to Kagero. Ride the dragon. There's no threat of the Blaster Dark anymore. Play that. Call that. And I wouldn't go as far as to play this Bari just yet, to especially team up with him. Next turn we may need this Berserk Dragon to attack when we play it, and we don't want it to only be like 10k's out. So to prepare ourselves for that worst case scenario, we'll save this bar in case we need to team up with Berserk Dragon next turn. And we'll have Lawkeeper attack, 2 or less out, +3, 2 or less out, +4, so that's 23. Obviously, no guard, no need to. Drive check, second check, damage check, heal trigger, doesn't heal, power Vanguard, the rear guard attacks the rear guard. And there's not really a good reason to defend him. We can allow him to die. Stand and draw. Ride to Origin Mage. Call Bite Car. Skill. Call the top card. Where do we want to put you? We'll put you here for now. Then we'll give a booster to the Vanguard. So now the booster will hit 23, or not 23, 20. We'll give this Iron Rod to Black Car, so he's a 16 now, so he's a 10 guard. And we'll leave the trigger we call at the top here. We could play this Cursed Lancer, but he'll only hit the 14 mark. We'll just leave this trigger there in case we hit triggers, and then we can give it to it and give this card an actual attack. And we'll wait till later till we can sacrifice it with the limit break and then play something else better. So we'll start by having Bite Car attack for 16 since we run stands. We want to have an option to stand something. We'll guard that with 10. Origin Mage attacks for 20. No guard. Drive check. Second check. Damage check. Critical. Power to Vanguard. And turn. Draw. We have that 2 damage now, so we drop the Berserk Dragon. Counterblast 2. We'll kill this Iron Rod so the Vanguard isn't hitting 20 anymore. And like I said last turn, we want it's not an exact situation because this Berserk Dragon could choose to attack a rear guard, but it can't attack the Vanguard. So it was a good move last turn to save the boost. So now he can. We'll start by first having the rear guard 10k attack the Vanguard, just so we can make sure it got a chance at attacking the Vanguard in case it hit a trigger, and then he wouldn't have been able to, and he'd have to attack rear guards that can't intercept and don't contribute that much. This would be a pretty easy attack to guard, so we will. Now the dragon attacks for 19. No reason to guard it. I check, draw trigger. Power to dragon, draw 1. Second check. Damage. Critical. Power to Vanguard. Paladins are starting to run out of crits. That's what sucks about having to run 4 of everything. Berserk Dragon can now attack for 22 at the 15. So basically it's a 10 guard again, as if neither of them had triggers. This kit could really use a limit break right now to fix these awkward field and hand situations. So we're going to take it, draw trigger. We get to draw as a bonus. Stand and draw. Let's see. Move this back. Call another Bite Car. Skill. Call. Yep. Now what we're going to do now, since this field's really awkward, is when we limit break, we're going to kill off this and this, because these are the most awkward cards in the field, and we're going to replace them by drawing 2 and increasing our defense. We'll start by having this Bite Car attack, since his booster is going to get sacrificed. We'll do the 14 at the Berserk Dragon, since he could intercept this to protect it. We want to make it so it's the hardest thing to block. So we're gonna attack the Berserk Dragon and not give them the choice of what's gonna die. And they will obviously allow the Berserk Dragon to die. Now the Vanguard attacks, limit breaks, retire Grim Reaper and Rugos, draw 2, get the power bonus, go up to 16, so it's a 10k guard, they won't guard, then drive check, stand trigger, stand and power to Rugos, second check, damage, draw trigger, Heart of Vanguard and draw. We'll have Rugos now attack the Interceptor since he can't hit the Vanguard. We could protect him by giving up a draw trigger, but we have 2 dual axes in hand, and those will be much better rear guards, so we'll allow him to die. And now the second Rugos, or Vipecar, will attack for 16 at the 15, which will get 5 guarded by the draw trigger. Back to Kagero. It's a pretty even game. Drop dual axe and dual axe. We could limit break, but that's actually a very bad idea. If we were to limit break, we'd get the Vanguard and the rear guard to hit like 23 and 21, so we could have a little bit more offense, but that we don't need to push really that much right now. And the major reason we don't want to do it is at end of turn, when they get unbinded, these Vipe cards would go off and get Shadow Paladin's 2 free cards, which they already have 2 free open zones, so no. We could wait for them to try and retire their own cards with their limit break, but a good Shadow Paladin player will want to keep these out to make the Kagero player not want to do it. So a good move to do right now is we'll start off by first having the dragon attack the Vanguard, which they have to block because they don't want to take the risk of losing to a crit, so they'll perfect guard it, giving up a draw trigger, drive check, second check, and then now we'll start attacking these Vipe cars. If we can get them out of the way, it will be a lot easier to limit break without there being a negative to it. We'll attack we'll attack the one that has a booster, because the one that doesn't have a booster, if you want to give this card a booster to make its attack worth it, it's probably going to be a booster you would have wanted given to the Vanguard. So we'll go after this one first. And it's almost silly to try and protect a grade 3. I mean, it is a deterrent for this, but it's not worth giving up shields for. And we have the second one. But Kagero, and now that there's 2 or less, the boost kicks in, so it's a 21 swing. But we really don't want to have the Shadow Paladins having this advantage, so we're going to attack him. And we're not going to guard. It'd be silly to 15 guard just to protect a grade 3. Now back to Shadow Paladins to draw. We will call Karin and Lancer. Lancer would be extremely helpful right now if he can hit to unflip a damage. That'll mean we'll be able to limit break up to 2 times more this game. And most of our hand is shields and a Dark Dictator. We could hold on to the Dark Dictator for late game for a push, but I don't want to give up an attack right now. We got to keep up our offense. So we'll play him. We'll have him attack first, since we want, if we're most likely going to hit a non-stand trigger than a stand trigger. So, and we'll want the power bonus to go to Lancer and make him more likely to hit. so we'll attack with him first. We can choose to attack the Vanguard now, or this 21k column by the limit break. But the opponent is at 4, so it's good to go for the Vanguard and start pushing. Make sure they drop their shields, which they are. We're going to 10k that. Unfortunately, we don't have any. What we do have a 5k. There we go, 5k it. Now the Vanguard swings for 21. There's not really a good reason to limit break right now. Kagero has to stop this because they're at 4. They don't want to get critted, so they'll perfect guard, giving up this Lawkeeper they don't need. Try check, second check. No triggers. Lancer swings for 16. That's block damage and prevent them from having another effect go off this game. Stand and draw. Drop Dragon Monk. So now we're all ready to start limit breaking with Lawkeeper. Those pesky bite cards are out of the way, and we have a ideal situation of a field. So limit break. Only downside is we're not going to get the +1 off of there being only 4 out of 5 rear guards come back. I'm going to start by having one of the rear guard dual axis swing first. Reason being, we want to make sure we at least get them to 15 guard. Whereas if the Vanguard hits first and it somehow hit and they damage triggered, it would reduce the whole point of these cards. So we want to make sure we get at least the 15 guard out of them to start, and then by getting the 15 guard out of it, we make it harder to block the Vanguard, which is the scary one because it could crit. So we're going to take the first one in case we were to hit a trigger, and we've already got the other 2 attacks to deal with, and they're the ones that could be dangerous because of the crits. So we're going to take the first one. No trigger. Now Lawkeeper swings in for 23. We will perfect guard that. Drive check. Second check. Critical. Power and crit to rear guard. Swing for 26. And we will guard for 20 to prevent it. Now the rear guards return. And draw. Now here's a good situation. We'll play this witch. The reason we're playing her here is because we're going to sacrifice her at this turn anyway, so it doesn't really matter that she's in the back row. We're just going to use her right now to get the +1 off. So discard, draw 2. That was a pretty awful draw. At least we have a perfect guard. Alright, we'll have Dictator attack first. Kagero 5 guards. Origin Mage attacks and limit breaks. Getting rid of a grade 3 in this witch. Draw 2 to add defense to hand. And notice that off of the witch draw we didn't hit a trigger, and off of the mage draw we didn't hit a trigger. We have an extremely high chance of hitting a trigger now. So Kagero is going to perfect guard it. Drive check. Second check. Wow. We have an extremely high chance of hitting triggers now. Right? Now Lancer swings for 16. And we don't want them to have a second limit break, or a third limit break, so we're going to stop it. Back to Kagero. 3 10Ks. Alright. No room to limit break. Almost silly to anyway. Alright. 19. We're going to guard that with a perfect guard, getting rid of one of these grade 3s we don't need. Try check. Second check. 17 to, whoa. I have to shuffle that up now. Alright, 17 to Vanguard now. We can 10k that. And 18 to Vanguard. We can 10k guard that as well. Stand and draw. This hand is not looking hot right now. And notice we again did not hit a trigger off that draw. That means our deck should be pretty trigger loaded. If we check, we have a crit, a draw, and a heal in the damage zone. Second crit. Third crit. So it appears as though there's one crit left in the deck. There's a draw in the damage zone and a draw in the drop zone. So there's two draws left. One draw, two crit. There's 1, 2, 3. There's one stand trigger left. There's one heal in the damage zone. None in the drop zone. So there's 2 heals, 2 draws, and a crit left out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 cards. That means there's 5 triggers out of 12 cards. That's not quite, but close to a 50% chance, like 40, 45. So that's pretty good odds. And that's just with the first drive check. We could play this witch right now and get rid of these grade 3s that are really bad in the hand. But the problem is we have that high chance of drawing a trigger right now, especially with 2 of them being draws and 1 of them being a crit. We don't really want to waste that crit. For now, let's play an Origin Mage. This turn will be tough. Kagero has a pretty decently defendable hand, only 4 damage. I think we're going to need those heal triggers to get rid of through this turn. Let's see. Actually, you know, maybe we shouldn't play this. We do have a slightly higher chance of not hitting a trigger if we play the witch and discard the grade 3. I don't really want to go through next turn with so many grade 3s. It'll almost be an assured loss unless we heal right here and now. We have a slightly higher odd, I think, if we go for the draw. So let's play this witch. Discard. Draw 2. Please don't be draw triggers or heal triggers. There's the heal. Alright. Still 4 triggers left out of 10 cards. So we have a 40% chance with a 10% chance of a heal, a 20% chance of a draw trigger, and a 10% chance of a crit. We'll move her back now. Or actually, we can leave her there. Call Arianrod. We'll have Curse Lancer swing first, since there is that. Wait, isn't there a stand left? Yeah, there is a stand trigger left. I wasn't even somehow forgot that there's a stand left, so there's even higher odds. All right, we'll want to swing with him first, since he'll be a worthwhile stand. If she were to stand, she couldn't do anything. So we'll do 16. It's probably a good idea if Kagero lets that hit. It will unflip damage. Kagero has a high chance of being able to win next turn, and we really want to worry about where the crit could come from, so we'll allow it to hit. Damage, and it might hit a trigger, make it easy to defend. Damage check. Skill to unflip. And now we'll have Origin Mage attack for 21. We could limit break here, but we have such a high chance of hitting triggers that I wouldn't do it. And this is where Kagero will 20 guard. So it's 2 to pass. Drive check. Critical trigger. Power and crit. We still have a pretty high chance of hitting another trigger. Could give it to the Vanguard and do the 2 to pass. And with it being the crit, it will definitely be game. And being that Kagero has 4 cards in hand, we know one of them is a grade 3 and one of them is a grade 2. So that means there's 5. Even if there's 110, that's 15. So it'll be easy to block the witch. Probably our best option is to try and get lucky and go for the 2 to pass, especially with the high chance. Second check. Heal trigger. Heal. Part of the Vanguard. The attack hits. It should be game. Kagero has 1, 2, 3 heals in grave. It's not possible to survive. And that's game.